All right. Hello, everybody. This is Jay Helix, back again, continuing our install series. Basically, today, what I wanted to share is the parts that I got in. I finally believe that I have all the parts in. There might be some odds and ends that I might need to pick up along the way, but for the most part, this is the majority of it. So we're going to go through this part list, or through the parts, which is everything we covered in terms of part numbers and all that fun stuff in previous videos, so you can refer back to that for specific information. Got things organized out here on the floor, so on the top left there, that is items from ICT Billet. See over here by the Supercharger, these parts are from GM Parts Direct, so GM themselves. A couple items right here from ADM, the belt I got from Car ID, this sensor harness for the MAF to T-MAP, so 3-wire to 4-wire. Got that from Crawford Racing. And then all these parts here on the right, and including the supercharger in the middle, this is the items I got off eBay as a complete item that I purchased from the user. We already went over the supercharger and some other videos, so I'm not going to spend time there. But last thing here is this part there. I got that from, I think, eBay. I originally wanted to get that from GM Parts Direct. I think it was like $22. It's the stock 4-bar T-MAP sensor, but unfortunately I got a notification back from GM Parts Direct saying that this part's been discontinued, and it's, I guess, recently, and it's been superseded by a newer part number, and that part number is currently on back order, probably due to the COVID pandemic that's hit the electronics industry. So luckily I just went to eBay and was able to find what I needed, and it wasn't that much more. All right, so I think what we're gonna do is, let's see, we can start off, maybe we'll start off here on the right with the parts that I got from the gentleman off eBay. So what you can see is, starting off on the very top there, that is the intercooler, or sorry, the heat exchanger off the stock Z06. So all these came off of a 2015 Z06 with 40,000 miles on it. So the heat exchanger, got that. This is the stock air box with a filter. Unfortunately, the MAF sensor was removed. I was thinking about if it's got a higher sensor range on the Hertz scale, using that, but comparing it back to some stock files, it doesn't look like that's the case. So I'll just probably end up using what I have on the L83. I have the reservoir tank here. This one's apologies for the noises here with my nose. Got some allergies going on, but this part here is probably a good one to talk about. So this guy is what you'll see on the, like I mentioned, on the stock Z06. What you see is this is a completely sealed unit. This usually mounts on the Z06 down on the bottom, I think, by the, I think it's the driver tire, around the driver tire on the frame. But yeah, the hose is with it, which is awesome. It's got a little valve here to drain, but it is a sealed unit. And what you'll notice on the supercharger is there's usually a drain or a valve you can open up to fill the coolant. So you might be asking, how am I going to, actually, here it is right here. Yeah, so this right here is the valve you can, or the port you can unscrew and do your top off from there. I'm going to actually do something a little different for this application. I decided to use a T-neck to fill. And I didn't realize that didn't come with a lid, so I still need to purchase that, but this is from GM, and so what I'm going to do is have vent lines go into, like it currently is set up, the hoses, and mount this probably up by the battery, so I can use my UV tool or knockoff UV tool to do the filling in here, so I can put the Venturi effect vacuum on here to draw the coolant and fill the system. Just makes it easier, a little bit safer for me to get all the bubbles out and maintain the topping off of the coolant. So yeah, that is The reservoir tank, this is the stock intercooler pump, heat exchanger intercooler pump. And as I was showing earlier, it came with all the hoses, which is pretty freaking awesome, because these things individually that we talked about in the other videos, you know, they can get pretty expensive. This is I think the GM changed out this to a different model, or I guess maybe you can just purchase it with that different model. This is just the standard stock one you'd probably see on ADM and other sites. But yeah, I got all my hoses, got the pump, even came with a bracket, so I need to find a way to mount that. Probably going to be in the battery tray area, the auxiliary battery tray area on my truck. Okay, kind of moving down here in the bottom. So this is the pump harness I got off of ADM's website. There's other sites that got this, like we talked about in other videos. Probably, now that I'm actually looking at this, I probably could have fabbed it out, but it is really good. This is a really good quality. So they're using TE Connectivity. If you guys aren't familiar with that brand, they're one of the top suppliers for excuse me, electronic parts, mainly in like the automation industry. And same with the connectors. So they got Delphi connectors, so name brand. Also got a TE Connectivity connector here that goes into the pump itself. So that's a really good brand. The gauge feels really good and solid. The connections are really good and solid. But pretty simple in design, in operation. So you might be wondering what's underneath this lid, because I know I was when I first looked at it. It's just a fuse. So it looks like it's a Delphi connector. It allows you to put in a fuse here. So you could probably easily fab one of these up for you. But basically just hook up the... actually, we'll cover that in another video. I won't go into the details. But got that from ADM. This is the pulley I got from ADM. So it's the hub that you see in here and the pulley. So this is what we're going to be upgrading on the supercharger when we get to that step. So it's pretty neat because it makes this pulley interchangeable. ADM has different sizes. So for this one, it is, you can see here, the 2.8 inch diameter pulley. So this is going to allow me to keep the 6 rib belt versus I think the 8+ rib that comes on factory. Also allows me to keep this in alignment with the harmonic balancer. Don't have to swap out the harmonic balancers because that's also 6 rib. And let's see what else was I going to say. Oh yeah, so this is going to produce, I think, 6 to 7 psi of boost. Whereas, like I mentioned in the other video, the one that in a video previously, the one that comes on the stock LT4, that one is 9.7 psi. So once I get the fueling upgraded, you know, eventually we'll, in the next phase when we do the fueling, I'll get to a point where we can play around with the different boost pressures. Excuse me for the sniffling here. All right, so this is the belt that I got. If I remember correctly, it was 92 inches, somewhere in that range. But this is the heavy-duty belt from Gates, which you can tell with the green color. No big thing there. I did get the belt off of the in this kit here from eBay. He provided his old belt, but I think that's not going to be the right size. This connector here, this harness, this is for the MAF, so breaking out the MAF sensor, the IET from the MAF sensor. So one's going to go into your MAF, the other one's going to go connect into the map, so it allows you to break that signal out. And they also provide a harness here, I think, for a separate IET sensor. I might just put a dummy plug on that because I don't plan on using it. I want to use the temperature sensor that's in the T-map. Let's see, continuing on. This is the OEM 4-bar, I believe it is, T-map sensor. That's going to go on the outlet side. So this is the outlet sensor for the supercharger. That's pretty cheap. Get them from GM for, well, before they discontinued it, you can get it for $22. All right, so that should be majority of the parts. So we talked about the stuff that came on eBay. Oh yeah, we missed a couple here. We already talked about the T-filler neck. This is the LT4 stock throttle body, not ported, just directly from GM. Quite a massive difference than compared to my current one on the L83. The one on the L83 is a 80 millimeter. This one's 87 millimeters, and as we saw in the other videos, the surface area in here, it doesn't seem like 7 millimeters is a big difference, but you can really see it from the surface area perspective. All right, let's see if I can move the camera over here to the bigger pieces, which is the ICT Billet. Sorry for the camera shake. All right. Okay, so the majority of the parts that make this thing happen is from ICT Billet. So we got here down the bottom is the excuse me, man, it even took allergy medicine today. The biggest difference, or sorry, down here at the bottom, this is the idler pulleys that allow you to run the 98-inch belt, or 92-inch, whatever that size is. It's on the previous video. But this allows you to keep the stock harmonic balancer that's on there. I give you some nice instructions. It's pretty good quality, it looks like. All the pulleys you need to keep things aligned and routed for around the new parts that you're introducing, which is Supercharger itself. Allowing you to keep the alignment and accounting for that larger diameter. All right, so this part here is our new coolant sensor location plug. I thought there was some kits that gave you another fitting to block off the old, and the old sensor port location, and there might be some out there, but actually the one from ICT that I got is just this guy. So this is going to go, as we talked in the other video, on the rear side of the block on the driver's side, I think it was, to put the sensor. So with that, you obviously need an extension harness. So this is the coolant extension harness. It allows you to relocate that sensor. This is the clock-in adapter that we talked about in one of the other videos for the throttle body. So the main purpose of this guy is just to allow the throttle body to be clocked, so that way the drive-by-wire module doesn't have clearance issues with some of the other components on the engine. So with that, you're going to need an extension harness for your drive-by-wire. Let's see, these are the block-off plugs that we talked about in the previous videos when we talked about the supercharger. So one of these is universal. It goes on a lot of different locations on the supercharger. One of them specifically for the evap solenoid, which, like I mentioned in the previous video, I'm going to keep. And then the other one is to block off the inlet map that I'm not going to use. All right, and then see the last thing here. This big guy. So this is, I think ICT sells two different heights for these adapters. I got the tallest of those. So this is going to allow it to lift the entire supercharger off of the oil lifter valley cover. So that way you clear the water pump and all that stuff. That usually would be a clearance issue if you were trying to drop this on the L83 or L86. It also has the, should I put that down? I'll pick it back up here. And we'll see this in the videos when we get ready to install it, but this also allows you to bolt this down to the stock head, and then provides the tapped holes to let the base pulse for the supercharger bolt into it, because obviously the LT3 doesn't have those tapped holes because it wasn't made for the LT4. All right, and then way over there, so that's the other adapter. Can't really see it very well, but next to that is a bolt pack with some gaskets sleeves and gaskets that go on the adapter plate, and then the gaskets that are on the intake bottom of the supercharger. And it looks like they did give me a PCV valve to go on the bottom. As you remember in one of the supercharger videos I went over, on the very bottom there was that a hole for the PCV system to hook into, and I'm guessing that's where that goes. Maybe if you got a LT4 style oil lifter manifold belly cover, it would just allow it to plug right into that. But for mine, I'm going to use the stock LT3, so we get ready to install it, we'll have to look into that and see if it's going to work, or if I have to get a 90-degree bend, because I do have a catch can currently on L83 from Mighty Mouse, and I want to keep that, so just to make it easy to change out some of these parts to allow me to reroute some little hosing to continue to make it work. Yeah, so that is basically the large parts you're going to need in a nutshell that you see here. And again, this is all covered in one of the, I think, the intro video that I put together that talks about the part numbers, where I got them, and just keep your eye out when you go out and shop for them, because there's, besides ICT Billet and ADM, you got some flexibility on where you get some of these parts. And I think that's going to be it for this video. I do apologize for the sniffles, again, the allergies, but hopefully it wasn't too distracting, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. See ya.